I feel like no contact is one of the dumbest things you could do within your relationships, friendships, situationships, whatever you got going on. Because you got to understand that no contact is nothing but you trying to control an outcome. And in the end, it brings you nothing but constant suffering and constant anxiety. You know, people come up to me all the time and they're like, well, I've been no contact for 2-3 months. I've been holding it down, man. I haven't been talking to them. I haven't reached out. I haven't viewed their story, yada, yada, yada. But it's like internally they're suffering because they probably looking at their social medias. They're sitting there questioning, why aren't they reaching out to me? Every single day they're checking their phone. Like, why have they texted me? Have they texted me yet? And it's like, you're doing nothing but bringing yourself internal suffering because you're holding yourself back from doing what you want to do, because really deep down, you're holding on to that hope that they reach out. You're waiting patiently every single day that you'll get that text back or see their name on your phone. And it's like, I can say this because I've done it and I know what the experience is like. And that's why I see it as a waste of time. And it's nothing but our ego and our pride and our need for validation, wanting that sense of, getting validated, or knowing somebody wants us, or knowing somebody cares about us, or knowing someone likes us, whatever, or wants us in their life. And it's like, when you remove ego, pride, and all these different things, all these selfish things, and this need for validation from no contact, you realize that you wouldn't even want it. Because no contact is essentially you trying to manipulate people into liking you. You needing to do all these toxic tactics, this push-pull, in order for other people to want you. And it's like, when you really sit there and you question it, it's like, do I even care to want people in my life that I gotta convince to want to be in my life? Do I want people I gotta prove myself to? Do I want people where it's like they don't genuinely want me? They want me because I didn't give them the attention they might have wanted, or whatever, or I didn't give them any attention. And so now they want my attention, and that's the only reason that they want me. Because I think that just sets you up for a toxic relationship. I think that sets you up for relationships eventually losing their fire, because it's like, people didn't choose you because they wanted you. They chose you because you weren't choosing them, in a way. And it was like their own ego and their own pride made them reach out and stuff. The analogy I like to use is like how we used to go into school and how we used to go into camp and we used to act like we was mad or we was upset. We predetermined, I'm gonna go in mad, I'm gonna go in, this upset me, this made me a little frustrated, so I'm gonna go in school mad as heck. I want people to ask me, what's wrong with you? Do you want to come play? Nah, I'm good. What's wrong with you? Can I help you out? Or get somebody to talk to you or whatever. And it was like, when people weren't giving you that attention, or people weren't asking you, oh, what's wrong? People weren't giving you that attention you was essentially seeking from you being mad. Now it's like, dang, why nobody asking why I'm mad? Dang, why nobody talking to me? It's like, bro, you over there sitting there with a mad attitude and stuff, so of course nobody want to talk to you. And that's the same thing we do with no contact. We stop reaching out, and then we like, well, why aren't they reaching out to me? And then it brings this internal anxiety. It brings this internal questioning. Oh, what did I do? Or, oh, why aren't they reaching out to me? They didn't really care about me. Yada, yada, this. You make up all these, different stories. Oh, they must not like me. They must not care about me. And then that makes you question your worth and whether you're good enough and what you need to do next. And then you end up just reaching out because you couldn't control it. At the time we be in no contact, saying we in no contact, saying we standing on business or whatever. And then we the ones that end up folding. And I can say that, confidently because I've done it myself. I'm not going to talk to her again. I'm not going to bother him again. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And then fold. I need something. I got to ask them a question, or I find some random excuse, or I literally text them, why haven't you reached out to me? Do you not care about, you just set yourself up for failure. I feel like when it comes to things like no contact and stuff, it's like you're essentially putting your life on pause, waiting for somebody to come back into it. Again, half the time, other people aren't even thinking about you. You're just constantly thinking about them. And sometimes you never get that itch, that need for your ego to get stroked, or that need for that validation. Some people are in no contact right now. Some of y'all might be in no contact right now. You've been in it for months, and you put your entire life on pause, waiting for somebody to come back into it. Whether that's your dating life, whether that's whatever it might have been, whether that's making new friends, making new connections, whatever it might be. And you've been living in constant suffering. You've been living in constant anxiety because you're waiting to be chosen by somebody who may not care to choose you, who probably isn't for you, even if you need to go no contact in order for them to choose you. You know, half the time we're not even really in no contact because you're still checking their reposts. You're still half swiping their story, whatever. I'm kind of going back to Snapchat days, but half swiping their story or whatever, half swiping their message, trying to leave them on delivered. And again, you're doing nothing but bringing yourself that suffering internally, even though externally you trying to hold it down. And again, like I said, all of this just comes down to control. We're trying to control so much. And I can say it again because I've done it before. And I realized I would try to distance myself from certain people in order to hope that they might reach out and be like, dang, I haven't heard from Will in a while. Let me reach out to Will. And then I get that little tickle. And then I realize that it's not even what I wanted it to be. Or maybe it was just, you know, again, I wanted them to reach out to me, to know that they was thinking about me or whatever, or that, you know, I was on their mind, or make it seem like they was chasing after me and stuff. Like, it was all egotistical. It was all a sense of pride. It was all a need for validation. And once I disassociated from a lot of that stuff, the decision became, I don't want to do no contact. I just want to choose to respect myself. And, you know, if you decide you want to be in my life or not, I'm at peace with it. And that doesn't mean there's no feelings in it. That doesn't mean I just automatically don't care. It doesn't mean that one day I want you and then the next day I'm over you. It doesn't mean that at all. Because I can genuinely say I've had to choose myself in situations to respect myself, to show up for myself, to no longer disrespect myself towards people that my feelings genuinely wanted. But it was finding peace in the fact that they didn't want me. It was finding peace in the fact that, you know, I wasn't going to try and prove myself, and I was going to stand my ground and moving forward in life without the expectation and understanding of, you know, they may never be in it ever again. And I'll find peace with that rather than trying to put my life on pause and constantly trying to stand out, constantly trying to find a way to get myself in their mind, whether it's through a story post, whether it's through a friend, whether it's through whatever it might be. Just letting go and finding peace with the fact that some people just weren't meant to be in your life and some people don't care to be in your life. Because I remember what it was like when I put my life on pause for myself. I used to put my life on pause. I used to put my feelings on pause for the day that people reached out to me. You know, I was waiting around and I stopped making friends. I stopped building new connections. I stopped pursuing new connections. I kept this resentment within my heart, waiting around to have certain conversations. You know, I had it all planned out. I was like, when they reach out to me, when they say, hey, what's up? I'm gonna act cold. I'm gonna act like this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get them to ask why I'm upset at them, why I'm being dry. Like, I had it all made up in my mind. And again, that brought me nothing but suffering and anxiety and anxiousness to be like, haven't they reached out? They reached out to me yet? Like, it really brought me nothing but suffering to my own life. And it was like, at some point you got to choose yourself. At some point you got to start to let go. And again, move forward without the expectation of certain people ever being back in your life ever again. Because when you're making decisions like no contact without direction, you have so much anxiety because there's such an indecisiveness with it. It's like part of you is like, I'm gonna wait for them to reach out, but then it's never guaranteed for them to reach out. They might be thinking the same thing, or they may not be thinking about you at all. And so again, you're waiting around for them, and it's like they not acting fast enough. And so that's bringing up anxiety in you. And so then you either just fall to that, or you might stay sturdy, or you might stay cool in no contact. But then again, your life is on pause, just waiting around. Maybe it's months, maybe it's a year or whatever. Like, it can get crazy with some people depending on who you are. And then there's the other side of it where it's like, you know, I'm not doing no contact. I'm just letting them choose. You know, I got to start living my life at some point. I got to stop moving forward. I don't need their validation. I don't, you know, need them to want me. I might want them in my life, but I understand I'm not going to be picked by everybody. And that's really the place you want to get to, because then it's like, I have my hand out with my love. I'm here if you want to be here. I want you in my life if you want to be in my life. But I'm going to have my hand out, but I'm gonna also keep moving this way. And my hand ain't gonna be out forever. And so eventually you're not gonna be able to reach me. You're maybe not necessarily be able to reach me, but it's like you're not gonna have that type of effect on me to where I care about you as much, because I've decided to move on. And it's like, that's kind of the energy you gotta move with certain people. It's like, you can't wait around for people to change who they are. You can't wait around for people to step into their potential. You can't wait around for people to take you serious. You can't be dealing with people's push and pull. Like, at some point you got to decide that you're just gonna move forward in life without the expectation of certain people being back in it ever again. And you get to that place by not needing that person's validation in order to feel good about yourself, realizing that your worth isn't in that person's approval, isn't in that person's acceptance, isn't in that person finally choosing you, or finally choosing to like you, or finally choosing to love you. Because I feel like when you do no contact without purpose, it's either you're just going to fold to what you actually want, or you're just going to be disappointed with the fact that they never did what you wanted them to do, what you were hoping for, what you were waiting around for. And then you really just gonna get your feelings hurt, and then you really gonna realize how much of your life you missed out on because you put it on pause. But I feel like the place that I'm at right now when it comes to just no contact, quote unquote, with myself, is just letting people choose whether they want me or not. Like, letting people choose me or lose me, essentially. Where it's like, I'm no longer gonna disrespect myself. I'm no longer going to try to control you. I'm no longer going to try and persuade you in any type of way, manipulate you, do all this extra shit to try and keep you around, try and get you to see me or whatever. Like, I'm gonna just live my life. At some point, I gotta choose to just choose myself and choose to start living my life, understanding that I may never talk to you again, I may never experience you again, whatever it's gonna be. But just allowing myself to move forward with myself without holding on to a hope, without holding on to an expectation. And that stuff does take time. And I'm not saying it's something that happens overnight, but it's something where, again, you have your hand out, but you're not clinging on to the fact or clinging on to the hope that the person you want to grab it finally grabs it. And it's not egotistical, because I'm secure within myself, and I know that that person choosing me or that person reaching out doesn't boost my ego. It doesn't make me feel more or less worthy or enough or anything like that, because I don't need that person's validation in order to feel secure within myself. And so it's more of a thing of, I respect myself enough to no longer disrespect myself, or I love myself too much to no longer disrespect myself by putting in effort that isn't being returned. And if you choose to finally come around to your senses, you choose to finally want to put effort into me or to a situation, then cool. But I'm not waiting around for you to make that change. I'm not waiting around for you to come to that mindset, because I got a life that's waiting for me to live it, and I can't miss out on it waiting for you and hoping for you to finally come around to me, essentially. But I love and appreciate you guys as always. Be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know if this video kind of resonated with you, as well as like and subscribe. But I love y'all as always. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video. Peace.